Hello and welcome to the Academy podcast with me, Ben Wallace, Charlie Thorogood.
You're right.
And a different Joe today. We've had Joe Brisley on the last couple, but Joe Himbury is with us this morning. So, how have you been doing?
I've been doing not pretty well so far this week, but when I heard the news that has recently come up, felt destroyed,
Charlie?
I can't really say I know a lot about him, apart from the fact he was one of the smartest men in the world.
We are talking about the legendary Stephen Hawking, who passed away in the early hours of this morning at the age of 76. Now, to think that he lived most of his life with a quite paralysing disease called motor neuron disease, yet he is the smartest man, or was the smartest man of this era. It is quite sad to know that he has now passed away. What do you think of that, Joe?
Even though he shall remain a legend now, even back in the 80s when he wrote his one of his first books about the theory of the universe.
A Brief History of Time was one of his books.
Brief History of Time, classic. He shall live on. That's what I have to say.
I mean, we was talking to Mr. Field out there. He said one of his friends went to a lecture with Stephen Hawking, and he asked Stephen Hawking if something about has his disease changed him, and Stephen Hawking replied by saying that the only thing that he suppose didn't like was his American voice, because he's actually British.
I've seen the theory of everything, and they mentioned how weird his American voice is.
The fact that he was born in Oxford but died in Cambridge. Yeah,
coincidental. But
I mean, it's a sad day for scientists
really.
around the world, but it is something we're going to have to move on from. Otherwise,
it's affected us all, and it's made us all.
I mean, I'm not a science guy, but even here, I feel, really depressed,
Yeah.
So that was just a bit of an update for the podcast to know that we're still
here.
Still doing podcasts.
We've taken a break from doing it during February. We didn't do a single podcast in February. In fact, the last podcast we did was with your dad.
Yep.
The last one that's been uploaded was with your dad.
I heard it. He did a great job.
Talking about business.
Talking about the evolution of his favourite, music platforms. Like it went from the vinyl to the cassettes to CD, and what kind of
to MP3 and then back to vinyl again.
Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, I've been doing an essay recently on that. Is music still a commodity nowadays? The fact that back when it started, thousands and thousands of years ago, people didn't really know what it was, but
now
music is synonymous with humans.
It's
without
part of
thousands.
Our life. It's a part of our existence, really. Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of years, well, not thousands, but a couple of hundred years ago, you had to be very, very wealthy to even think of listening to music, because the only music you could listen to was live.
The live music back then probably would have cost 6p, but
that would
have been
equate to a lot of money in today's.
It's weird how
Nowadays, tickets cost around hundreds to get into Glastonbury or Reading.
wireless. Even my friends Ollie, Charlie, and Adam tried to get wireless tickets, but only some of them did.
Oh yeah. How much were they?
They ended up being about £100 just to get into wireless, which is extortionate compared to the actual ticket price. In fact, on the news recently, there has been talks of the fact that you get given a price when buying tickets, and then when you actually come to
Buy
you get
them.
lots of different extra fees. It's not fair, really.
I mean, on stuff like festivals, because I've known this from going to stuff related to festivals, you pay more for better things. So, of course, you pay more for backstage passes. I mean, last year, me and my dad went to Le Mans, the 24-hour race, and we paid extra to have camping next to the track, which all in all wasn't a good idea, because it's a 24-hour race with multi-million-pound cars constantly going past. It's noisy, it's hot, but because it's my first time, it made the experience better. But if we were to do it again, we would rent a hotel, because the whole camping thing is the experience. And when you're camping trackside, it is quite good, because you can just get up in the middle of the night and walk over to the grandstands, and they'll be empty. And then in the mornings, come 9 o'clock, those grandstands will be so full that you don't want to sit up there, because it's so hot. You'll be having to be taken on tons of water.
I mean, I think the whole thing with ticket prices is it's not fair, really. If you're given a price, surely that's what you'd pay. It's like going into a supermarket, and the price of a tin of beans is £1, and you actually then you go to the checkout and you're told that it's £2. I'm lying to you.
What they do is they give you when they tell you it's going to be £1, they've given you the cheapest. So say you want tickets to Glastonbury, they'll go, right, yeah, this ticket is £95, but that's a 1 day
pass.
One day pass, no camping, and that'd be nothing else. You won't be able to do meet and greet, you won't be able to go backstage, or you can turn around and go, for £5 you get VIP camping.
£5.
It's just a estimate number. So you get VIP camping, you get backstage passes, you get to go in the VIP tent. It's all this extra stuff. I mean, when my sister worked at Glastonbury, she got the VIP camping because she is one of the workers, and they had built-in toilets, running water, showers, pre-erected tents. They had everything for them, and they had 2 meals a day, as well as a bottle of fresh milk a day. Cause for those of you who have been to Glastonbury, you'll know that it's a dairy farm. So they get a free bottle of milk every day, which is fresh.
The workers that work there as well, so they all get milk.
Kind of neat also.
And not only that, they also do go around with a tractor, which is just loaded with bottles and bottles of milk, which they're selling, because it's completely fresh, it's completely cold, and
I suppose it is that part of the country.
Yeah.
A lot of the cows are in that part of the country.
Yeah.
Although occasionally I do come down the motorway and see the cows on the hill.
Yeah.
I don't see them much anymore. How they work though.
In the winter, they never really put them up there. But I mean, it's quite hard for them to transport them around. So they normally move them around at night, to be honest, because they're pretty big trucks to move them from A to B.
So you've been on the podcast before a couple of times, Joe. Have you ever been to any big events and have bought tickets and then realised it's actually more expensive than the price?
I know a lot of people who did. My brother, he always has to go to Reading
Mm.
on the actual resources there.
Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, you go there, you're spending £100, and of course your brother, he's 19 now, isn't he?
20.
20. So you've got to think he's going to be
Is
there
that,
with his
Rick is his name, or
Dylan.
Dylan.
Sorry, yes, Dylan.
He'll be there with all his friends. So of course he'll go to the local supermarket, spend another £200 on alcohol and all this other stuff. So you've got to think it all amounts to something. So you're always going to be paying more than you wanted to pay.
Mm. I think Brexit has probably put an effect on the currency as well. What we're paying for stuff, sugar tax.
I mean, I
food.
don't think it's going to affect
It
stuff
will
like.
affect the
I don't
music
think it will
industry.
affect stuff like Glastonbury. In these
Although
ticket sales.
We did see Jeremy Corbyn last year at Glastonbury doing a speech.
Yeah, but
Everything has a knock-on effect.
they're not going to turn around and go, no one from Europe is allowed to Glastonbury. Because,
Well,
I mean-
there's different parts of the country that think people should be allowed in. People who migrate to different countries. To be fair, it's all opinion, isn't it?
I think we should allow them in, but limit it. So don't turn around and go, come on in. We should turn around and go, right, we'll take in 1,000 a year.
That's not many if you think about it.
No, but it's just a number, isn't it?
What do you make of that, Joe?
Well, choose not to get into the political sort of stuff because either way there's
Disagreements.
agreements, there's disagreements, and it's all colliding together into one.
The way I look at it is, if they're willing to work, then let them in. But if they're just going to sit around and live off the taxes that our parents pay and our carers pay and this, that and the other, then like, it's those kind of people that we don't need in the country, because we need
Exactly.
people who are going to work for the living they earn.
I think the people who sneak in on the back of lorries and whatever, that they come to Britain because they think it's better here or whatever. But I think Britain has its own problems. It's a valid point though, isn't it? Who should be allowed in? Who should?
I mean, I'm completely fine with them being here. Like I say, if they work.
I mean, they're just people. At the
But
end of the
I
day.
also think that British people who just go off with other people's taxes
Yeah.
and these council benefits and don't work because they
it's-
can't be bothered to, unless they have a physical or mental disability or are caring for someone with a physical or mental disability, they should be working.
Actually, that's quite an interesting point.
Or they are retired.
So I've been looking, or people have been helping me look for a place to move to out of my parents, and I've realised that council properties actually accept housing benefits, whereas private landlords don't always accept it.
No.
And I don't know. I've realised that it is quite a
Buying a house is
Yeah.
very hard. I mean, if you want to buy a quarter of
rent.
if you want to buy £250,000 house, you've got to pay £25,000 deposit on it.
You've got to pay a small percentage of it before
If you
start
think-
paying for it.
Some
Mortgage.
jobs mean you're getting paid 15 grand a year, and so you can't afford that 25 grand deposit because that's a year and a half's work.
What are your plans, Joe?
Well,
Are you going to uni?
I'm gonna do an apprenticeship, I think. And,
So that's another route as well that people take after college. I don't see as many people doing that. A lot of people go to uni, but apprenticeships is like a branch, isn't it?
Uni, they either do uni, just get a job, or travelling is one.
Travelling, I don't know. It's very expensive, but at the same time, you do get to see the world.
I mean, I'm fortunate enough to have been born into, I don't want to say a wealthy family, but a family that is relatively well off. And I have travelled most of Europe and a part of America. But I still want to carry on that adventure. I want to be able to say that I've been to
every country,
almost every country in the world. I mean, there are some countries that I'm just going to steer clear of because of the wars going on there.
I mean, that's where we differ really, because I've only ever been in this country, in France, and I only went to France for 2 days, and that's it. I haven't been anywhere else in the world.
I mean, I don't want to sound like a boast, but it's hard. It's hard for me to say how many times I've been to France, because me will go there at Christmas. Because I mean, there's some shops near the border, so Calais and that, which sell wine like duty free really cheap. So once maybe every 2 years, we'll go over there and buy a couple of £100 worth of wine.
Because it's cheaper over there.
Because it's cheaper over there.
Like
and so my parents will, I mean, my mum normally has a small glass of wine every Friday.
There's a guy I know called, I won't say his name, but there's a guy up at the shop that I know. He buys his cigarettes from across the water, because it's cheaper over there. You can get a packet of back over there for 20 quid. I mean, here it'll be double that.
We've
3 times that.
We've been asked by friends when we travel over there to get them cigarettes, because I mean you can get a pack of 10 of 20 cigarettes for something like £30. It's ridiculous how cheap it is. But then if you go further inland, it starts getting expensive again. Like I say, it's hard. It's hard for me not to make other people feel shit about the fact they haven't travelled, because, like I say, after being born into a relatively well-off family, I've been given the experiences.
It doesn't make you feel superior, does it?
No. But
we shouldn't feel better.
But people,
rich families.
People, I think that I try to make myself look better by being born into a more well-off family, which I don't. In fact, I don't hate the fact I was born into a well-off family, but I just hate the fact that people think I'm some posh kid who...
That's where...
some posh kid who lives in a...
discrimination comes into it.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Even though, personally for me, it doesn't matter how much money you have, there's always going to be similarities between you and another person. I mean, there's over 7 billion people in the world. Still going up. There's still going to be people who have the same feelings. There's still going to be people who differ from each other. But everyone wants to travel the world. Everyone wants to. And when I mean everyone, I mean
everyone.
Free damn lot of people. So. Don't know if this makes sense, but still, everyone has someone else might have the same dreams as you, and instead of feeling like you're alone in the situation, you should find someone else with the same feelings and talk to them. Share your feelings, and maybe you can create a relationship with each other.
Like a friendship.
Or a friendship. Maybe you could travel the world together and accomplish your dreams without judging how much wealth or any minor differences. Just accept you're similar and. Yeah.
What what really sets me off on one note is when people really flaunt their wealth. Like they'll drive around.
Just
I mean, yeah, okay. I
waste their
like
money
I
on,
like these flashy cars, but I hate when people are like they drive around in it. They think they own the
Right.
place. I mean, I was in London a couple of weeks ago, and some rich kid must have been about 21 got out of a red McLaren, which he'd parked diagonally across 4 parking spaces,
What a dick.
and got out, shut his door, walked
no,
off.
that's complete. No,
Well,
that
I
is
turn
wrong
around
as
like, well,
to be
I mean,
honest.
you may be rich, but like you're taking up 4 parking spaces, and he's like, well, my father owns this, so I'm allowed to do what I want. Walks off in his.
a big problem to being rich
I hate
because
those sort of people.
you know your foolish offspring can use it to make themselves more powerful. Say, look at me, look at my wealth, bow down before me.
The funniest thing was though, he looked like a proper twat because he got out of this multi-million-pound car, and he had a Rolex watch on,
We're gonna need some sensors.
but he was wearing an Adidas tracksuit. I'm like, sorry, if I had that money and that car and that Rolex,
Gold all over.
I would
Platinum.
park the car like a normal person first of all, like in one bay, not 4. Get out, and instead of be wearing a Adidas tracksuit, I'll be wearing either what I'm wearing today, which is just a t-shirt and jeans, or a suit. I mean, yeah, I know that's still like flaunting my wealth, but I'm not looking like an idiot, am I? I mean, if the police were there, they'll probably think he's nicked that car.
Oh, yesterday I was recording a song down here with the singing teacher, and your dad came down.
Yeah.
And quite interestingly, my old head teacher from my previous school, obviously because head teachers earn quite a lot of money, he had a Jaguar, but your dad didn't choose to get an expensive car because he earns more money. He has an everyday sort of car.
He has a Suzuki Swift, doesn't he?
Yeah,
That's
like,
I really respect
like
that.
because he instead of just get rid of the old stuff and move on with new,
Out with the old in when you know.
he uses the old stuff to all the use they have. Even though it might be old, it's still really useful. I didn't get rid of my iPhone 6 for an iPhone 7 and get rid of my iPhone 7 for an iPhone 8. I still have my iPhone 6 because it's still useful because
If you drop your new phone and it cracks and you have to send it off to get repaired, then you still have your iPhone 6 to be able to just
has a broken
plug
screen.
your SIM in, and
Yeah, you know, just use it.
I mean, my phone broke recently. I'd dropped it and the screen had cracked. But because it's a European phone, I had to send it off to be repaired. They ended up not being able to repair it and they sent me a new phone. But during that time, I got my old phone out, which was a Nokia. I mean, not anything great. It was one of the newer Nokias. I think it was a 635, so it was a smartphone. But I kept it because I knew that if in the event that I did drop my phone in it, destroy it, that I could still have a backup.
Well, just before we finish up, I guess a few updates. We have some guests planned, don't we? Dylan Wolf,
Planned.
Ellen Rose, Maliki Triffitt,
Alfred
Eva-
Davis.
Alfred Davis, and Eva Jenkinson, and of course Joe Brisley as well, and hopefully the return of Joe Himbury as well.
Maybe. And
Yeah.
that's Joe Brisby is the new Joe that will be replacing Himbury.
Oh no, I mean you're both on quite a bit, so I have to keep that going.
Sure. Yeah. Just to say I will be back, and but I don't know when. That's the thing. Just whenever you
Try.
guys have.
Oh, I'll try to be back. Depends on what I've got going on.
You record on Wednesdays.
I'll try and make it in for the upcoming podcasts, but if I can't, then I'm sure you'll find someone to fill in.
Well, so at this present point, yeah, long live Stephen Hawking's legacy, I think. And
I don't think it'll be forgotten for quite a long time.
before the podcast finishes, I'm going to be inserting my song that I've recorded. He Lives in You by Tina Turner. I've done a cover of it. I think it links in quite well with Stephen Hawking's death.
Yeah.
So it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Charlie,
See you later.
and Joe Himbury.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Or listening.
Long live
Or
Stephen
listening.
Hawking.
And the